Our opening song today is 10:10, We Give Thanks. Be seated. Ooh, that gives me so much power. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, our beloved UCOV. I'm Pamela Palmer, and I'm a member of this congregation. We strive to be a beacon of liberal religion for Florida's Sun Coast and a refuge for all who seek a welcoming community, no matter your color, creed, ability, no matter who you love, your gender expression, your political affiliation, or religious belief. Or as a congregation in Georgia I visited once said, we do not care if you are a blank canvas or fully tattooed. Here we celebrate our differences as we learn from one another. Is anyone visiting us today for the first or second or even the third time who'd like to introduce yourself? Yes. And you are?
Gay Haynes, and I'm a resident of Venice, but I'm a transplant from St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands.
Oh, how interesting. Welcome. I hope you enjoy us today and come back. Yes.
Hi, I'm Charles Portzel. I'm visiting my father, Donald.
Oh, how very nice.
I attend the church in Rochester, First Universalist.
Oh, very nice. Welcome. We have, yes.
I'm Robin. I'm a 2 years resident of Venice, and
Fabulous. Yes.
Hi, I'm Christina Axelrod, and I'm visiting my mom, Judy Jacoby, from New Jersey.
Very nice. Oh, okay.
My name is Holly DeVoe. I'm here with my sister, Chris Neely. I'm a longtime union member from Minnesota.
Ah, welcome from Minnesota. It's still winter in Minnesota, isn't it? Yes.
I'm Stephanie Marqueski. I'm actually a longtime resident here in Columbus. Just never make it out on Sunday.
Welcome. It is a chore getting up on Sunday, isn't it? Anyone else? Well, I welcome you all. Is there anyone is this their last Sunday here before they head north? Oh, good. We'll see you next week then. Okay, Pat Wellington, who gave us these lovely flowers on the 4th anniversary of her marriage, to our wonderful AV czar over here, Tom Reed, will be doing the announcements.
Good morning, everyone. We have quite a few announcements today. Bill Reynolds has an announcement. Bill, you want to come up and give that?
Good morning, everybody. I am here to make an announcement from the Community Forum team, and we're about to do our very first public event coming up, and you're all invited to attend a forum entitled Recent Supreme Court Decisions and Their Impact on Separation of Church and State. Exciting. Trust me, it is. On Sunday, May 1st, at 4 p.m. here at UCOV, Attorney Alex Bodicon of Americans United for Separation of Church and State will present via Zoom. And following the presentation, there will be a live panel here up on stage, a panel discussion with Pastor Lynette McClellan of Hope Neighborhood Church and Reverend Michael Rao of St. Mark's Episcopal Church. It will be moderated by Rich Canelli. Canarelli, sorry. Sorry, Rich, if you're watching. The event is free and open to the public, and we hope all of you can attend. Thank you.
Okay, all right. On Thursday, April 14th at 10:30, in the Grief Support Group will meet in Waters Hall, the gray building out on the road out there in Edmondson. And the book club will meet on Zoom that same day on Thursday, April 14th, to discuss a book called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And Saturday, join the mat makers from 10 to noon in Waters Hall. And let's see, we have a reception for Marcy, our choir director, today on the lanai after church, and we have some cake, I do believe. So please stay for coffee and cake this morning after the service. Audio fetch training next Sunday at 9:30. And let's see, Kathy gave me this to do. Is that for everyone or who's interested in working with you folks at the audio board? Well, those of you who know that you're involved in that, it's at 9:30. Next Sunday at 9:30. We also have the last day today. There's a box out on the lanai. Janet Knudsen asked me to make this announcement for your things that you would like in an interim minister. She'd like to have those written down or emailed to her. And today's the last day. There's a box out there. We have one more thing. Julie Johns is going to come up and tell us about something the Buddhists are planning.
Those party people. Good morning. Donna Schaefer and I have tickets, lucky you, for the Taste of Sri Lanka dinner, which is 3 weeks away, also on May 1st. I know that's the date that the separation of church and state. So we're offering takeaways from 3:30 to 7:30, so you can get a takeaway dinner, a carry-out, either before or after, we hope. But if you come, you're going in for a treat. It's a wonderful, wonderful dinner, and there will be Sri Lankan dancers and some what they call cultural events. So I hope you make it. Tickets are $29 per. It's at the Jewish Community Center this year. What else do you need to know? I guess that's it. I hope you will stop by. I'll have tickets in the lobby following the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Now we have Barbara Buring, who's going to tell you about Family Promise.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Buring. I'm the social justice team leader, and today our collection is for our monthly special offering. Today it's for Family Promise Open Door Program. You may have been seeing the news articles about how the rents are skyrocketing and people who have never had a homelessness problem are being pushed out. And you may have seen some news articles about the homes that Family Promise has had built as transitional housing for homeless families. This is the Open Door program that we contribute to. Your donation goes towards temporary shelter, meals, and comprehensive services to homeless families. It helps them to achieve lasting self-sufficiency. The goal is to place these families in permanent housing. They're given help with finding employment, move-in funding, homelessness prevention, and other services. They also provide a day center that is a safe place for families during the day. Rising rents have made an already bad situation worse, and your help today is much needed. Thank you for your generosity.
They will be passing. We'll be passing the baskets. Give, you know what that old expression, give till it feels good. Okay, the choir is now going to sing Jazz Alleluia by Thomas Benjamin. A Call to Worship by Julius Lester. Each of us is comprised of stories. Stories not only about ourselves, but stories about ancestors we never knew and people we've never met. We have stories we love to tell and stories we have never told anyone. The extent to which others know us is determined by the stories we choose to share. We extend a deep trust to someone when we say, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. Sharing stories creates trust because through stories we come to recognize of how much we have in common. And we'll do the lighting of the chalice, Judy Houston.
It's only Houston if you're in New York. It's Houston. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom.
I'll try and remember how to pronounce that. Okay, and now, this is your part. We're doing joys and concerns, and I'm afraid I'm going to trip down these steps. Okay. Does anyone have any joys they'd like to share with us? Oh, come on. Well, I'm happy. Oh, okay.
Hi, good morning, I'm Marcy, and I just want to say what a joy it has been to work with the choir.
Very much. And I will say, this is not a joy, but we will be missing Marcy, and I hope the choir retains a lot of what she's given us. Any other joys? Well, I have a joy. I have a joy that my friend Andy is here, and everybody so far has liked him. You know, you hate when you introduce friends and they don't like each other. Do we have any concerns?
I'm sorry. I have two things. I may have been out, but one of our congregants, Linda Andrews, died. I saw a very small obituary in the paper. Her husband's Monty Andrews, which you know is one of the parks in Venice, one of the two people in Venice that has a park named after him down by across from the Triangle Inn. The other is I just had a very difficult experience yesterday. I got a phone call and I was still half asleep, and a young friend of mine, she was about 55, called me from the hospital to say she had just enrolled in hospice, which a big decision. And this woman has been living in a big power wheelchair for years and years and brought so much joy into our lives and did some wonderful artwork, especially for the Historical Society. So she contributed a lot to this community.
My sorrow is I lost my brother John. We were very close. I'm very sad. I'm getting through it because I have such wonderful memories. He was just down here last month for 2 weeks. And those memories are keeping me going.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyone else? We celebrate with those who have celebrations, and we have thoughts and cares of those of us who are not having a good time and just love each other. We have a moment of silent meditation. And I will read a poem by Philip Appelman, which I found amusing. I hope you do too. Oh, karma, dharma, pudding and pie, give me a break before I die. Grant me wisdom, will and wit, purity, probity, pluck and grit. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, kind, give me some abs and a steel-trap mind. And forgive, ye gods, some humble advice. These little blessings should suffice. To beget an earthly paradise, make the bad people good, and the good people nice. And before our world goes over the brink, teach the believers how to think. And now the choir will sing "What a Wonderful Life." World, what a oh, I wrote life. I want to say thank you very much to the choir and Marcy. This will be the last time they will be together, and I really want to celebrate the time that they've had together.
I was wrong. You can talk.
I can talk, you just...
Andy's roadie.
Well, when Andy's roadie is done, Andy, who I have learned has many talents, he's a Shakespearean, he's a clown, he really knows people. He'll introduce you to a wonderful family. And Andy is going to tell you about Aunt Marguerite's bonsai tree.
And then I'll turn on this mic. There we are, right? Good.
It's such an honor to be with you. You know, you have to come to a UU church to hear Hallelujah in 5 beats per measure. Smart aleck. Congratulations, Marcy. I'm so glad I got to see you, you know, to hear your choir before you Amsgrade. And you guys have a lot of work to do. It's beautiful, beautiful work. It's wonderful. Thank you for having me. My Aunt Marguerite is 85 years old and only recently graduated from medical school. You should applaud that. And she went out to the Trappist monastery. Oh, by the way, in my faith tradition, it might be your old faith tradition before you bugged out from your last church. Reaching hard, man. It's Palm Sunday. I'm Methodist by trade. I'll wait. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you a Christmas story. My Aunt Marguerite went out to the Trappist monastery. She had an eye on this particular bonsai tree. It's beautiful. It's a live oak, you know, which you have a lot of around here. She really loved this thing, and she decided that everyone on her holiday list was going to get a bonsai tree. You know, what do you do every year after time? And she does celebrate Christmas, but she only does her celebration on the Feast of the Epiphany, which is January 6th. And that date has been usurped, but we won't get into that right now. That's when she has her big celebration. And she was out there, and there's a fellow named Brother Bartholomew who runs the garden center at the Trappist Monastery in Conyers, Georgia, which is about 10 miles from where I live. And she loves Brother Bartholomew. He's from Mississippi. He's the only Southern monk out there, so she digs this guy. And you know, when you buy a craft or if you buy something from an artisan, make sure the artist or the artisan loves what they're working on. That's when you know the greatest affection and love has been put into that. And she saw Brother Bartholomew working on that particular bonsai tree that she's been eyeing for years now. And she knew she wanted to buy that for her very best friend, Mary Frances. And he had some old toenail clippers that he was working on it, and he was wiring it into shape. He'd been working on this tree for a while. It's very large. It could be the world's largest bonsai tree. And she knew she was going to startle him when she said, "Hello, Brother Bartholomew." And he did. He jumped, and he turned and goes, "Hey, Dr. Marguerite, how are you?" And she said, "I'm going to buy your tree today, this very one." And she saw his heart sink because he loved his tree. But then he remembered that he had taken a vow of poverty, and he smiled. He said, "That's wonderful," because he knew this tree was being sold to someone who would love the tree, or give it to someone who would love the tree. And she bought that tree, and then for her daughter Francine, my cousin, who lives in Massachusetts, she got a loblolly pine tree because they grow all over Georgia to remind her daughter where she's from. She gave me a red oak tree, and she gave Francine, her goddaughter, a tree. And she'd picked these 4 trees and put them in the trunk of her car. And then right as they had put the trees in the trunk of her car, it takes you away from that 16th century feel when you're out at this Trappist monastery, when you present your credit card to a monk who has an iPhone with a square reader. The bells of Vespers rang, and the monks just have to scurry. And if you ever have a chance to go to a place like this, go to this particular monastery. It looks like it's made of Italian marble, but it's actually concrete. It's a beautiful place. Has a big rose Italian stained glass in the back, and the monks file in, "Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison." Marguerite was sitting behind a balustrade on a hard bench, hearing that 8-9 seconds of reverb with these monks filing in, singing ancient Gregorian monophonic chant, and Brother Bartholomew filed by amongst those monks, and he learned all of his music from AM country radio. And she heard him going, "Kyrie eleison." And she brought forth a laugh by the women in my family when they know they shouldn't laugh. Because in Methodist churches, we don't laugh as much as you people do. And she went, There's something in music, I know that Dr. Marcy knows this, there's a term cuts, something that cuts through an orchestra, say a pair of claves, just two little pieces of rosewood. You can have a big orchestra in a big hall, and those claves cut. Doesn't mean they're loud, it just means it carries. Well, the properties of in that 9 seconds of reverb just bounced back and forth of that big cathedral building, and the monks were like, what? And then Marguerite tried to look as pious as possible, but she was still wiggling with laughter a little bit. Well, when Vespers was over and she said goodbye to Brother Bartholomew, she saw up on the knoll of this pastoral monastery, and it's in a pasture, so that's why you call it that. She saw, it's a little too much, Pam. She saw a buckeye tree, you know, a chestnut buckeye tree. And my great-uncle Charles used to travel for a living, and he would always bring us buckeyes. And in my family, you put a buckeye in your pocket, and you rub it for good luck. And Marguerite decided she was going to give a buckeye to everybody on her list, her holiday list. And she picked up one for her best friend, Mary Frances. And she picked up one for Francine, her daughter, for Drusilla, her granddaughter, and one for me. And she realized each time she picked one up, she rubbed it, and she made a wish. And then it occurred to her that when you make a wish for someone you love, it's a prayer, however you want to call it. Now, my Uncle Charles, Marguerite's been a widow a long time, but my Uncle Charles speaks to her from beyond. And when he does, it's usually Shakespearean, and it's often inappropriate. And as she was at that Trappist Roman Catholic monastery, rubbing those buckeyes for people she loves, she heard Uncle Charles say, "A rosary by any other name." And out loud she said, "Amen." And when she said amen, she heard someone go, "Mick!" Now, Mick is a name that she carried around with her in junior high and high school. Her initials before she was married her name was Marguerite Ivy Cook. And people didn't know that was short for Mike, because they weren't audio people. Her friends called her Mick. And she said, "Hello." And she saw this old fella come walking towards her. And he goes, "Mick." And there was a guy, he was one of those guys, he's wearing hiking boots. He's wearing, you know, pants with zippers right here in case he needed shorts in an emergency. "Mick? Well, I used to be Mick. May I help you?" Which was stupid. She didn't want to help him. And he touched his chest. He said, "Ike Balthazar. Ike Balthazar, little Ike." And Ike Balthazar is this kid that she knew when she was like a senior or junior in high school, and he was in the 6th grade. She used to babysit him. And he said, "Well, I used to be little, but I'm taller now, but I'm starting to shrink." "Well, Ike is good to... Ike, how did you know I'm who I am?" He said, "Well, I was in Vespers. I was here delivering some bees to Brother Bartholomew. I've been conjuring queens." "You've been doing what?" "You don't have enough time in the sermon to explain that. Now, but I've been delivering bees to the monks for their honey. And I was visiting. I was at Vespers, and I heard a... and I knew whoever that was had to be a tourist. When Brother Bartholomew flies by, and I looked over there, and there was a woman with a particular smirk that I remember from when I was a kid. Smirk on a girl I used to have a crush on. And I wonder if Marguerite is still alive, because if she is, that's her. And you're you." "Well, that's wonderful." And then they were quiet for a minute. And she didn't want to leave, and he said, "Well, I best be on my way. My dog's in the truck. I mean, not in the front of the truck. She's in the bed of the truck, but I left the keys in there. If she gets bored, she'll drive off." He's funny. And Marguerite said, oh, you have a dog? I have a dog. Oh, what kind of dog you have? A Vizsla pointer. Dog like that's got to run a lot. That's right. Where's your dog run? Cemetery at night? That's against the law. I know. Well, why don't you have your dog come out to my farm? I have an organic farm with my son. We have 400 acres. Your dog can run free. And she caught herself, after being a widow for a while, saying, I would like that. Come this Saturday. Are you working? No, I have the weekend off. But I generally do work. And it came to pass that she went to visit Ike on Saturday, and then they enjoyed each other's company, and she invited him to the Nutcracker. It was coming on around Christmas time. You know, when you get to be an age, you got to sort of do a hurry-up offense in relationships. She invited him to the Nutcracker. Her great-nephew, Liam Irwin, my son, was going to be playing Mother Ginger. If you know your Nutcracker, Mother Ginger's, the first cross-dressing character the general public can accept. Mother Ginger in our town is a 6-foot wide hoop skirt. My son had been welding it, and I got a call from the director. Do you think Liam would like to play Mother Ginger? I said, that'd be great. This kid has 2 inches on me, by the way. At the time, he was 17. And Mother Ginger, if you don't know the Nutcracker, Mother Ginger is generally played in a big company by a man who's a ballet dancer. And they bring Mother Ginger out, and Mother Ginger lifts her skirts, and little children come tumbling out. That's not weird. And but before the show began, this is a small town company, and there's a stage, and there's this little area, and the little kids are running around back and forth, playing tag. And there's one little girl with a purple cast. She has a broken arm, she has a purple cast, and she's got a Nutcracker in her hand. And she's sort of the leader of this tag game. And Marguerite and Ike are sitting there, and there's a blank space next to Ike. And then next to that is a young woman who could be one of the mothers of these kids, and she's watching the kids, and he thinks he sees her tracking the kid with the cast, and Ike hopes that little girl is going to sit next to him, because she's his kind of people. And there's a woman behind Ike who has early onset curmudgeonship. A woman in her 30s. Saying stuff like, somebody needs to do something about those children. Something's gonna get broken. And then Ike said a little bit too loud, kind of like Pam, a little bit too loud. Ike said, Marguerite, when the show begins and the curtains rise, the children are going to be running around, and somebody's going to fall, and something's going to get broken, and if we don't have that, there won't be any magic. We can go home. Okay, y'all don't know the Nutcracker. See, the Nutcracker, and Uncle Darcy, and then that little girl came and sat next to Ike, and the overture was playing, and the little girl took her Nutcracker and started dancing to the overture. And the mama said, I'm so sorry. And I said, no, let her do that. She's showing exuberance. That's what the overture is for. And I took his program, which had a picture of the Nutcracker, and he folded it. And when he folded it, he danced with that little girl. His Nutcracker danced with her Nutcracker. And then the curtains did part, and the children did arrive. And then the mother took the hand of that little girl holding the Nutcracker and lowered it down. And then Marguerite took the hand of Ike with the Nutcracker. And she liked Ike so much. And she didn't know how to come to terms with falling in love because she missed her husband so much. And she went down to the cemetery to see my Uncle Charles. And she sat on a bench dedicated to a cousin of hers who was lost in World War II, looking down at the grave with the tombstones with both of their names on it. And she wondered what Charles would think. And then a breeze kicked up, a warm breeze, in that cool December day. And she heard Uncle Charles speak from beyond. And he was Shakespearean. And he said, she never told of her love, but let concealment like a worm in the bud feed on her damask cheek. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy, she sat like patience on a monument, smiling at grief. And that's from the 12th night. And she knew that it was all right. She knew that it was all right. Well, then Ike said, hey, Marguerite, I want you to come to the farm. I'm going to give you a Christmas tree. Now, Ike has, as I said, an organic farm, but in the distance, he sells Christmas trees. They're all Douglas firs because they sell those whole trees for land reclamation where there's been mining and stuff, but they also sell it to anybody who wants to come. And they invite anybody who wants to come during the month of December to sit around a campfire, kids, families, whomever. They don't have to be buying a tree. And Ike takes them for a ride in a sleigh in Georgia. Pay attention. Ike has a cousin from Vermont, has a ski lodge. It's 100 years old, but they don't use the sleigh anymore because there isn't enough hard, icy pack to drag the sleigh from the train. And I'll skip ahead because I know you guys are watching your watches. But what happens is Ike will take, what he did was he bought the sleigh, put it on a yawl haul trailer, and he... in the tradition of my people. And he and my son went to Pull Apart, which is the junkyard of the future, and they bought a Ford Ranger chassis, and they put the sleigh on a Ford Ranger chassis. And he has 2 mules named Hope and Crosby. And he takes the kid, and it's a big sleigh. It's not a it's not a 2-person, it's an 8-person sleigh. And kids will pile on the sleigh, and he'll take them around the farm, and they have, they're going to have, and he has a little, he has I'm sorry, I can't think of the word right now. He has what do you get tofu from? That comes from soy. Yeah, it has a soybean. Gosh, I've never lost that one before, but you're watching me fail. He has a soybean farm for children with claustrophobia. That took a lot of work. That was a lot of work. And the kids will sing, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a 2-mule 4-wheel sleigh. Hey, Mr. Ike broke his bike, he has to ride a mule. He drags us round through the town because he are his fools. And then he'll get mean old manish. He'll go, get out of my sleigh and go find me some tinder and kingling. Ah! And there's nothing more fun to little kids than when a really nice old man acts like a mean old man. Now, Marguerite's only ever had a red cedar tree in her house. It came from her grandfather's farm, and that's still around, and that's where we cut them every year. She's never had anything but a red cedar because of the way it makes her house smell. But now she knows she's going to have a Douglas fir Christmas tree because this wonderful man has offered it to her. And he said, Marguerite, let's go get your tree. So the kids are starting the campfire, and he always has some teenage kids who used to ride around in the sleigh when they were younger, and they are in charge of the kids making s'mores. And they get in the sleigh, just the 2 of them now, and Hope and Crosby take them over a knoll, because in Georgia we have something called hills. And there they are, rows and rows of Douglas firs. And Marguerite's going to miss her cedar tree. It's quiet, there's no wind. And they get out, and Ike takes his saw, and he looks at Hope Crosby and says, y'all stay here. And those mules love Ike, and they nodded. And as they were walking down to the Douglas fir trees, he knows she needs a 9-foot tree for her vaulted roof. Down by the creek, they heard a mockingbird. And Ike said, shh. And Marguerite said, I wasn't saying anything. And they walked down to where they heard that sound. And there, flitting as they do when they're showing off, was a mockingbird. Flitting as he sang. And he lit And Ike said, that bird's whistling to George Frederick Handel. And then Ike said, and the bird said, and Ike said, and the bird said, and Ike said, and the bird said, and Ike said, no, 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 that last interval's not a minor third, it's a half step. And the bird said, and Ike said, Marguerite, I think that's your tree, that cedar tree. Are you all right with a cedar tree? And Marguerite said, that would be lovely. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, unto us a son is given. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, unto us a son is given. And the government shall be upon his shoulders, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Rock-a-bye, baby, in peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Let's make peace a word we know every day of the year as we go on from here. No, let us not cease to be ones who bring about peace. God, make instruments of us so we can make music thusly, with kindness to neighbors just like us or not. Call us your children, the ones who brought healing and tenderness outside ourselves that can only transpire when we don't delve into how we were wronged and transgressions endured, cut off in traffic, a loved one not cured. When the pits of our stomachs and the depths of our hearts are aching and broken, God, make our souls smart enough to know others feel just as we do. And the beings beside me are people who are as vital as I am, blood, flesh, goodness, and sin. And though some have wronged me again and again, when I look at myself, I must honestly say, God knows I know I can be the same way. Someday, somehow, hate has to cease. Make me a year-round instrument of peace.
I'm a smart woman. And now we will sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Rise if you are willing and able. The chalice is extinguished. By William Carlos Williams, The Red Wheelbarrow. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed in rain water beside the white chicken. We will reprise Spirit of Life. I want to remind everybody that next Sunday is Easter, and in our tradition, everybody who wants to wear a silly hat, let's wear it next Sunday. And Spirit of Life.